Hello, my name's Clare from Conscious Chemo. I thought I'd share today some tips on how you can support somebody you know who is going through chemo or cancer, any treatment for cancer, just based on my experience, what really was helpful and a few things that perhaps weren't as helpful. So first of all, I would say if you hear about somebody who's recently had a diagnosis, to send them a message, or if you're going to send them a message, to not demand anything back from them. So just to let them know you're thinking of them, let them know you're praying for them, let them know that if there's anything if there's anything they want you to do, you're there for them, but not demanding a response. Because you can imagine when it first happens, it's quite shocking. It's very new, and it can be, the energy needs to be on healing from my experience, and coming within with a small network of support around you. And if you start getting bombarded with people making demands or lots of phone calls, it can be a bit overwhelming perhaps. Some people might really like that, but I would say word it in a way where the invitation's there. So then they could say, if you'd like to, if you want to call, let me know, we can arrange it, and then they can choose. So I think just use language that gives people the choice. And then if you don't hear back from them, don't take that personally. Again, it can be just that it's just where they're at. Don't be afraid to then send another message in a few weeks just to let you know I'm still here and I'm still thinking of you. Let me know if there's anything you need. Because also some people might initially be in that place where they're not able to communicate, or they might have not wanting anybody to help them. There might be resistance. They might not have actually accepted the diagnosis. They might still be in denial. But a few weeks later, they might be in a different place and be really grateful. So don't feel that because somebody hasn't responded immediately, it means they don't want you to respond at all. It might just be the timing. But again, word it in a very diplomatic way. So it's just letting them know you're there, letting them know you're thinking of them. And I got some messages just ad hoc here and there, and it just puts a real smile on your heart when somebody sends a random message that you're not expecting, just out of the blue, to say, just to let you know, you popped into my head today and I'm still thinking of you. That really does mean a lot. So some of the ways you can support people, I would say, would be to set up a food rota to help somebody. If they're on every 3 weeks like me, then certainly the first week, that's when, for me, and I hear that a lot, that's probably the most impact. But also, if there's enough in the group to offer that, but also to make sure you ask if they've got any dietary requirements, and really let them share if they're wanting to do it in any particular way. So again, so be very open to listening to what they are requiring dietary wise. Even encourage perhaps a very low sugar and high fruit, veg, quinoa, whole wheat type foods, and beans and pulses. Actually, I didn't have lentils during my chemo because I felt that aggravated my stomach. But so you can get nutrients from all of those things. And it really does mean a lot when somebody drops something on your doorstep or brings something around for your freezer. It's such a great gift. Another gift that I got that I just absolutely loved was a link to a really beautiful song on Spotify. So you don't need to think about the big grand gestures. There's little things you can do that can really light somebody up and make them feel really valued. And it was just the perfect song at the perfect time that somebody sent me, and I'll never forget it. And it's now on my playlist, and every time it comes on when I'm driving along, it reminds me of that person. So what a beautiful way to connect. You might send them an inspirational quote if you know where they're at. So that's the thing, is to just try and consider anything that might be triggering. But inspirational quotes are often helpful. Just to let somebody know you're praying for them, if they're into that, can be helpful. Food rotas. And then I did also get blessed with an awful lot of gifts as well. And some of my favourites, I got some really comfortable pyjamas and slippers, which I loved. I got lots of very natural, organic health products. So all kind of maintenance. I got a really great balm for my lips. So your lips tend to get dry and cracked. And it was a natural one. It was organic. That was really nice. Somebody sent me this beautiful hand cream, again, all natural. So your hands tend to go dry, anything for nail care. But I wouldn't send that early on. Anything to do with hair and nail loss, I would pause on that for initially. I know one of my friends sent somebody a couple of headpieces that she thought were really beautiful, and she sent them back to her because she just wasn't ready to receive that. She was probably not yet there. So I would be mindful on sending hair and potentially nail offerings until later on, or perhaps asking somebody if you think they're ready for that. But so think of neutral gifts that might not trigger. But I think, like just nice organic. I've got vegan organic face creams, moisturisers. They were all beautiful. Organic. You can get organic deodorants. What else? I've got so many gifts. I've got a hamper with lots, herbal teas, organic herbal teas, lots of stuff to support the system. I've got lots of like green powder with spirulina in. So any supplements that could help them support. Offers of lifts to take them to treatment. Even though there were some appointments where I could have taken myself, it was really nice to have the company. And even though it was during COVID and they couldn't always come in, it was nice to know somebody was there afterwards. And I think when you're going for those initial tests, you don't know how you're going to be on the day. So you could go in feeling really positive and end up bawling your eyes out. I found that quite triggering going in for the tests. In fact, probably the most triggering part of the whole journey. Once I had my final diagnosis and I decided the course I was taking and I applied myself, it got much easier. But when you don't know what's happening and one test leads to another test and it's all up in the air, I think that's when it's really good to have somebody there with you. Even if they say, I'm all right, just gently offer. That was helpful. Cards, I got some beautiful cards. Don't underestimate the power of a card with nice words on it. My sister sent me, "Life is tough, my darling, but so are you," and I'll never forget that. When it rains, look for rainbows. I love those. So yeah, and yes, and flowers. My house looked like I died within a week of getting my diagnosis. But all my close friends came around with a bouquet of flowers, and it was lovely. And it's just nice to know that you're not going through it alone. And even though I'm a single mum, and I've got used to being on my own. In fact, I'd never think I'm by myself. I'm more that I think I'm with myself. And when you have a regular meditation practice, you experience frequently that you're not. You're more than you think you are. There's a lot more depth, and there's effectively two of you: your human self and your true self, your source. And so that's really helped me throughout my journey. I've never really felt alone, but knowing that I've got support is really valuable. And of course, some people will be feeling alone, which is why these meditations are so powerful. So again, perhaps a link to a meditation or a yoga nidra would be really a fantastic gift. Of course, you can only offer it. You can't, it's up to them whether or not they do anything with it. Links to books. But I would find out where they're coming from with it, whether they're coming from the natural, integrative, or medical, and then choose accordingly. I think one of the greatest gifts you can give anybody going through cancer is to let them have their own experience. So be really mindful about the dialogue you're entering in when you speak to them, and are you projecting any of your stories and fears onto them? So perhaps you might have lost somebody to cancer. Are you projecting how that made you feel onto them, that then might then make them feel bad or worry or fearful? Using words like that evil disease, or I'm really shocked, or that kind of language might make somebody actually feel worse about it, because when you're using strong language, it can trigger strong emotions rather than using more neutral language. I'm really sorry to hear about your recent diagnosis. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. Let me know if you want to talk anything through. So I would be mindful about projecting onto others. And trying to come from a place of neutral. And if somebody has a way that they want to deal with it that doesn't agree with you, with how you feel that they should, which is a loaded word, just really allowing them to have their own experience, listening to how they want to do it. If they're really strong about it, then letting them be there. If they were asking for your advice, then simply saying what you would suggest if it was your sister or your brother or your loved one, rather than saying, if I was you, this is what I would do. That's been really helpful for me when I have wanted to get some input from people that I've trusted. The wise ones have always said, I can't tell you what to do, but if it was my sister, I might suggest this. But until you're in the situation, you never know. And I think that's quite important to say as well. I've always said that I wouldn't have chemo, and I am. So it's very non-judgmental. So that's what I would do. Perhaps if you feel that there's something that would benefit somebody, you seep it in a very non-judgmental way. I think from speaking to people going through cancer, the times that they've had meltdowns or been triggered and is when they felt somebody's judged them, either for having chemo, or for not having chemo, or for having cancer in the first place, or just on decisions that they've made, or the way they've wanted to do it. So I would be careful on language and projecting, which we can all do subconsciously, and perhaps making somebody feel judged, and also maybe oversharing if you know people who. So trying to keep it positive is what I'm trying to say, I guess. So you want to be realistic as well. So if, obviously people can be in denial, and actually accepting the diagnosis is a really important part, being able to move on with some positivity. And giving people space as well is a great gift. It's a gift. Smiling. Gifts can cost nothing. If you're a neighbour and you don't know somebody very well, but you know they're going through it, for me it would have been that, just a note through the door, just to say, I live at this number, if there's anything I can do, let me know. Even if you never get a call, just putting that there is a really nice thing to do in my experience. So that's the other thing I'd say is don't expect anything back. So if you're offering out, just do it with love, mean it, do it sincerely and with love, but don't expect anything back. But if you do, then obviously honour what you said. If you said I'm here, then be there as well. So if you're not going to be there, don't offer it. So I think that's pretty much most of the ways I would suggest you can support somebody. And it is a shared experience. We're not going through this ourselves, and every time, according to the way we deal with it, it's going to have an influence and effect on the way other people deal with it as well. So the more people that can navigate it as positively as possible, the better. I did have one big meltdown, a big fat juicy meltdown on New Year's Eve, and again one of my friends came around and sat in the garden with me, and that's what I needed right then. I just needed to talk and get it out. Whereas other times, it might be that somebody feels like they really need to be on their own and meditate. So again, it's just honouring what somebody needs at that time. And I'm so blessed that I feel as though I could call somebody whatever time of the night it was, and I would have somebody there if I needed it, which wasn't often, but it was there. So I hope these tips have helped. Good luck. Sending out loads of positive vibes, high vibrations, love, and well wishes to each and every one of you.